Chai FM, 101.9 megahertz of life.
Let's talk to one of our favorite experts, Major Andrew Fox. He is a former British Army officer, and please God, he is not a bird watcher or a twitcher. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. Wait, hold on. Are you a bird watcher?
Well, I don't go out of my way, but should I see a striking bird of spectacular plumage, of course I'll stop and admire. But I won't go out of my way. No.
I don't even know what that really means, because I don't know if we're speaking metaphorically. I don't know anything anymore. Okay, so yeah. Okay, but gosh, yes, so you wouldn't go out of your way, right? You wouldn't drive the tank in that direction necessarily to look for birds. Right, let's talk about much more serious things. Hamas reportedly open to disarmament. Really? I mean, can we buy what they're selling?
No, I'd be very surprised if they go into this with a genuine commitment to actually, take themselves out of public life in Gaza. I mean, look, we have to judge them by their actions, not their words. And everything we've seen since the ceasefire kicked in October last year is same old Hamas doing the same old things. They've brutally suppressed any dissent. We've seen videos of executions and deliberate wounding of people who are suspected of collaborating with the IDF or of being one of these rival militias that Israel tried to create. They are taking 100% of the aid that goes into Gaza. Like I've stood in the control center, the CMCC, the Civil Military Cooperation Center down in southern Israel, seeing the trucks going in their hundreds. And the telling thing is they're all going through. Nobody's intercepting them. Nobody's trying to steal it. It's because they're all going to Hamas's warehouses, so they don't need to.
So they're literally going straight there.
Yeah, exactly. Drive straight to the warehouse. Hamas is like, thank you very much. And then they control the distribution of the aid, which means that they're getting the profit from it. So we've seen all of this stuff happening, and the idea that they're suddenly going to go, oh, okay, fine, and put down their weapons and hand them over is a bit of a stretch, I would suggest.
So what game are they playing?
Well, I suspect they're playing the game that all of these sort of regimes, like we're seeing in Iran as well, that the game is survival. The game is survival. The game is hudna, which is the idea of a tactical pause, where you pretend to be at peace, but actually you're rearming. And they're playing the long game because look, this is what these sort of Muslim Brotherhood extremists. That's how they think. They don't think in terms of weeks, years, electoral cycles. They think in terms of generations. And so Hamas will have taken the beating that they've had over the last 2.5 years plus. They'll take that on the chin, and then they'll wait to reconstitute and continue their religious mission to recover what they see as their own land back, because it's an Islamic waqf, which means once it's been given to a Muslim, it should be in Muslim hands for eternity. This is, again, it's the same as Tehran, slightly different motivations, slightly different brand of Islam, but it's religiously motivated, so they're not suddenly going to change their views and come to the table in good faith.
Yeah, it's just it's bizarre. The something I was contemplating a little bit earlier on the show is, given the fact that Iran most definitely have their hands full, they also are a little bit more financially constrained. They've got a lot of their own investment, in inverted commas, to do, given that there isn't a tunnel system flowing in and out of Gaza the way it was prior to October 7th. Is Hamas actually able to rearm?
It's a question of time. It's a question of timescale. Could they rearm today? No. Are they still quite heavily armed? Yes. I mean, look, they haven't destroyed every weapon that they had. They've still got some of their heavy systems. They don't pose a threat to Israel's borders right now. And they have been unquestionably set back decades. I mean, let's not pretend that they're in a good condition. Their leadership has been absolutely smashed apart. There is a unit in Israel dedicated to hunting down those who crossed the border on 7th of October and killing them. And that's going quite well from an Israeli perspective right now. They're hitting these guys every single day. So Hamas is firmly on the back foot. But Hamas is much bigger than just a fighting force. You have to remember, Hamas ran and controlled every aspect of civil life in Gaza, from the media to the health to the justice system to the policing system. You name it. Hamas was involved in this. The mosques, the schools, they were all used for their radicalization, for the brainwashing of children. So this is an organization that has infested every aspect of civil life for nearly two decades. So it goes far beyond just an armed group. It's an ideology, it's an idea, it's a system of control. And as long as that system retains roots in Gaza, as long as it retains the influence over the people, then it will continue to exist, and it will try and rebuild in due course as the years go by, and and as Israel stops bombing them on a daily basis, that's when they'll look to start gathering their arms together again. And look, if you're sat there in Gaza City right now and you're a Hamas leader and you know this board of peace is coming, what I'm going to do is make sure that every new piece of governance that comes in, my people are infesting it top to bottom as they did the old system. And when you control 2 million people, you can do that. And so this is a huge challenge that I don't think a clear answer has yet been articulated to.
Do you think that, there was this announcement a while back about them stepping down in terms of being the leading, governance there. Is this all part of almost a sham to create the impression that they're moving towards this process?
I don't see how it can possibly be anything else.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line here. Is there any circumstance in which Hamas suddenly turns into a good faith actor during this whole process? Yeah. I just don't see it.
Yeah.
It's that simple for me.
Can you just share with us, with our listeners, your experience or part of your experience going to Gaza? Because you're one of the few people that are not part of the IDF that have been allowed to go to see some of the see what's there. Obviously, I recognize there's certain things you can share and can't share, but if you would just give us a sense of what you can, that would be I think that would be fascinating for our listeners.
Yeah, the areas I've been to are the southern part of Gaza, in the area of Rafah, all the way down to the coastline. A little area called Swedish Village, which is right on the coast in the Egyptian border, and then to the Netzarim corridor, which is spread across the middle, like the waistband of Gaza, if you will. And I think the bit that really stands out is the level of destruction. And I think, no honest commentator should shy away from talking about the extent of that damage. The important thing is to understand why it's so bad. First of all, that's what urban combat looks like anyway. If you look at any city that's been fought through in the last 20 years, you'll see similar footage that you see from Gaza. But then you have to factor in on top of that the tunnel system that runs underneath everything. So when that gets detonated, then everything on the surface gets damaged. IEDs, they're densest, improvised explosive devices, one every 50 yards, one every half a football pitch. That's an incredible density of explosive. And of course, when that goes bang, the buildings get damaged. They have very poor building quality in Gaza as well. So the damage, they're far more susceptible to that damage. And when the IDF's been trying to maneuver, they have to use bulldozers. They have to blow stuff up because otherwise they can't get anywhere. So that's why we're seeing the extent of that damage that we're seeing. Most people seem to think it was from airstrikes. It wasn't at all. It was from ground maneuver for the most part.
Yeah.
And of course, the other thing to note is that it is devoid of people. There is nobody in those buildings. Everyone, for the most part, Gazans did evacuate. That's why comparatively few are dead. Of course, the number of civilians dead is large, and that's tragic, and we shouldn't shy away from that fact either. I mean, the totals do include huge numbers of fighters as well.
Sure.
But that is still a low total for the amount of damage there. And it's because people did listen to the evacuation orders. They did move away. And when you talk to IDF soldiers, for the most part, they were fighting through what were essentially ghost towns, where an enemy would just occasionally pop up and engage them, and they'd have a fight. But it's the level of explosive destruction through mines, IEDs, trying to clear the tunnels. That's what's responsible for so much of the damage. And it's going to take a very, very long time to rebuild, because there's unexploded ordnance. There's rubble to clear. There's tunnels to get rid of. This is not getting put back together.
Not so
in a
quick.
hurry.
Yeah, absolutely. That is where we leave it. Thank you for that. Really, really so interesting. Major Andrew Fox, a former British Army officer, talking to us about Hamas, about Gaza, about disarmament, and what it really means. Thank you as always.